Well, hi guys and girls, Emma again. Welcome back to the spare room and another tool build. I've been tossing this around for a while, and I guess anyone who follows me on Facebook or Instagram will know about this already and the tribulations to get to this point. But I've got a prototype, so it's time to start building it. This is sort of what it looks like. German companies. One German company in particular still makes these, and it's a hold down. People will say, "Oh, Deckel made those," or AMF make these, or Hauser made those. And I'm guessing in some workshops they're called a Deckel pattern clamp. I've heard them called staircase clamps and also step clamps, which is what you look for on the internet if you want to go and buy a new set. And yes, they're available, so I appreciate anyone who's reminded me of that in the last little while. But yes, they're available. Not sure they're available this small, and they're available in Germany, which makes postage and stuff a little bit cost prohibitive, the euro and so forth. Anyway, most of the fun in something like this is making them, so that's what we're going to do. This is sort of the final prototype that I ended up with. I've messed with this for quite some time. There's bits and pieces. This one sort of works. This one's got square steps that line up, but they slip. This was a early prototype that didn't work. This is a later prototype that did work, messing with this. And what we come up with is this piece here, which is going to be in steel of some sort, I guess. It's about 25 millimeters by 42 by 25, 26, something like that. We'll need a piece of stock that big. This one here I'll get out of 42 mil, something like that, 45 millimeters square. And it's about 35 millimeters deep, as is this piece. So there's a bit of work in these, and I've spent a bit of time trying to work out how this actual staircase works so that it interlocks, so that it doesn't come apart. That's the theory anyway. And how many steps are best and all those sort of things and how it works. And I've finally got one that I can bolt down on the mill, and it actually works. It's got a T-bolt like this, so something similar. It might not be quite this small. I think I'm going to use an 8mm bolt through it. And it should have a spring in between. Won't be like that, but to give you some sort of idea, just to support it, so it doesn't all fall apart when it's not in the machine. Might have to make some springs or find some springs or source some springs from somewhere. 3D printing is good for a prototype like this because you end up with parts that you could measure up, and you can sort of say, hey, I don't like that sticking out there, or that's a bit sharp, or that doesn't quite fit, or it doesn't line up, or this could be better this way around. And you make the parts accordingly. Anyway, first thing is this part here. I've drawn this up, and I did print one up, but I'm not sure where it is in the later version. But I found some 20mm stock. So we've got some 20mm by 20mm 01. 20 by 20 and 500mm length. And there's carbon, manganese, tungsten, chromium, and vanadium, which is probably about 1,000 times too good for hold down clamps, but that's what we could get and that's what we've got. So let's get in and make some parts. So that's the last one of them. Next thing will be to deburr these and set them all up and machine them all exactly the same length. I think is next important. We get them all exactly the same, and we're going to cut the corners here on each side. So 10mm by 15 degrees on each corner, just with a side and face cutter across, and cut a piece out of the corner there and quite a big piece out of the back here, and from that point we can put a slot in them and start to finish them off and start to make them look pretty. So a bit of work in them yet. I'm going to file this up and I'm going to set up a stop and I'm going to machine all these across the end to length and start looking at setting these up to give them a little bit smaller ends for gripping. So that's the last side down. Just cleaned up on the... hasn't quite cleaned the line on that one. I'm going to just give him a fraction more. And that's just cleaned that line up there. So we'll take him out, we'll mark the other corner and set them up, and we'll put a notch in the end there. Don't know how much you can see here, it's probably not very much. Find a bigger cutter here so that we can get deep enough without the arbor touching on the vise. So this has got a bit of a round corner on it, which is really nice too. We've done it in 3 passes, about 100 thou deep, and and we're right through, and if you have a look here at the DRO, we're only 12.94, so I'm going to adjust that up to 13 millimeters just to take a final pass through. Like that. Moves a bit when we lock it down, so you've got to be a bit careful of that. But that'll be plenty good enough at 13 millimeters. Now I'm going to take a final cut through there. Just to clean it up. And go ahead and do the others. So that's what we've got there, is a reasonably nice bit of a radius in the corner there, which gives it a bit of strength, I hope. I think this is about 7 millimeters by 13. It's been chopped out there. They're all been done the same. Next job is to mark this at 10 millimeters, which is half the distance, and then cut the top out. So I'm going to mark this along here where we want the end, and sink a cutter in here full depth, and then start thinking about roughing this out. After that we can put the slot in. This is going to be at 15 degrees, I think, here and here. The angle on the dog leg, but I'm not going to do that until after I've gripped these in here to put a slot in them. So that's the way that's working. I went a bit deep here, just on one of them. It's this one, as luck has it. This is going to be chopped out in the top here halfway down, so it doesn't going to worry anything, but just trying to follow that line there, and I just went a fraction deep on that one. But these things happen, and it's not going to matter anything in the long term. So let's mark this up, put a slot in here at the right distance, and then rough this out and have a bit of a look at them over on the bench. Well, I feel like I've been cranking this handle for about a week, maybe 3 weeks it feels like, and it has been a little while because I've been sick in the middle, but this is quite a milestone because the hard work's done. Hopefully the hard work's done. We've got 4 of them marked down to there. And it feels like I've removed a mountain of swarf, literally, off the 4 of them. But there we go. Finish is not real good. That cutter seems to be handling it the best. It's pretty tough steel. So I'm going to spend some time now on the bench and just clean them up and draw file them a bit, give them a good clean up, and mark one out to put a slot in it. And I reckon from that point we can start to hopefully it's all downhill from here. So this is quite a milestone. It's taken me, feels like days, to get them cut out in there. So let's have a look at them when we've given them a good clean up and Sat down at the bench with the file for a couple of and sat down at the bench with the file for a couple of hours, and hopefully we'll be ready to put some slots on. So I got these to this stage. They still need a lot of clean-up work, a lot of handwork, and a little bit of polishing, etc, etc, etc. But this is what I've got. I've actually finished this at 15 degrees, just to give it a bit of a clearance. I haven't done the back one yet, but I've done that one, and just to see how it looks and how it feels, and it looks pretty good. Still got to put probably a chamfer on the back here on all of these across here, and a chamfer on the top here on all of these across here. So that'll, and this one will all sort of finish the main machining. They need next, while we can still grab this nice and square, they need a slot between this point and this point across here. The position seems pretty good. It's about the same from each end. It might be a little bit further back this way. I've tried that on the prototype, which is here. And it's a tight fit in there, but it gives us some sort of an idea. 7mm slot right through there to there is going to give us about the right amount of overhang on this end with this cut across here, I think. And this way up, or this way up there, it gives us just enough overhang here to hook onto something if we need to. So that to me looks pretty good position for that slot. I've cleaned the milling machine up a bit because I've got nearly a bucket full of O1 swarf here, and it's rotten stuff and it's all oily. And I feel like I've been milling this for a week. I've already said that, but they're all pretty close to the same. They need a bit of work with emery paper and file still, but they're certainly a lot better than they were. So rather than finish these off completely and put the other 3 chamfers on, which is only probably an hour's work all up to do those, I thought next thing would be to set this up and to put this slot in here. I reckon a 7mm slot. I've got a good 7mm slot drill and tungsten. So I guess the secret will be to drill it. Might actually drill it 7mm each end, and then cut it out between it with a smaller end mill, and then change it out to a 7. That might be the answer, or we could cut it out with a 6 and machine each side. I think might even be better. Haven't given this a lot of thought. I'm going to get into it tomorrow, but that's the state of play as of tonight. Let's have a look again in the morning and set this vise up nicely. Get these set up this way in the vise so that we can machine them, and see if we can make some nice slots that look like they're meant to be. So I got to the end of these and thought, gosh, I better film one of these. So this is the last one with the slot. I've just set these sideways in here, and I've set the nice and tight. I've set the DRO up at it's at 15 millimeters, which is the center. So that's half the center finder, which is 10 millimeters, and then half of this, which is another, which is 5 millimeters, and then half of this, which is another 10 millimeters. So our 0 point is 15 mil. So our DRO says 15 millimeters. You could take the word for it because I'm not going to move the camera. I've got a stop set here and here. Run into problems with this stop. Ended up putting another nut on it to get a bit different purchase on the thread, because I think I need to make new stops for these. That's probably at some point a work to do. So we've got a 7mm end mill there. We're aiming for a 9mm slot. I'm just going to plunge that end mill. Right through at that end. Move it up to the other stop, which is there. Anyway, so this is what we've got. These look pretty good. I really like these. They could do with a bit more of a clean up, and they probably will get a bit more of a touch up with a file, etc, etc, etc. They're starting to look all right, but they're not quite perfect yet. And we've got 4 of them the same. So that's enough for 2 pairs, which are probably going to be different heights. Our camera went flat halfway through shooting these, and we also had a headache, bit of a problem here with this one, in that the stop I was using to set the length of this slot had a strip nut, and not having another one and probably really needing to make some parts for it, we persevered on and did the job without it. But this one is a little bit different, which was the last one I did, unfortunately. If it had been the first one we did, we might have stopped and fixed it. This is about a 9mm slot, which is good for an 8mm bolt, I think. Probably something like that. That's pretty neat. I'm not sure whether we're going to put button heads on them and whether we're going to put like ball joint washers or something in them. I'm not sure yet. We'll see if we can get them or whether we've got to make them or what. These, I've gone through and I've put this undercut in here so that they're all the same as such, and put this on here and this on here, and spent a little bit of time just breaking corners and messing around with them. I'm going to spend a little bit more time as well, probably most of the week, just cleaning these up nice so that they look good enough to heat treat. But so far they're looking pretty good. That's what we've got. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know if you like this sort of content. I really feel like making tools is, while the outcome's nice, it's always very, very labour intensive to make parts that are nice. And I'd much rather build steam engines or things like that. But this will be a nice project and they should be pretty good. I'm going to heat treat these to about 55 RC, I would imagine. Something like that. I'll harden them up and then temper them back until they're about 55. And I'd like to get them polished enough to hold a black finish. Whether we've got to run them through the tumbler again and then blacken them again, I don't know. We'll see how we go. But it might spend some time just getting them spot on. Anyway, more soon. I think the next part on these is probably going to be the T-nuts. It looks something like that to fit an 8mm bolt, probably a little bit bigger than that, with an undercut to go through the table. Still thinking about that. That's probably going to be the next part. And then we need to chop up some steel and make those. So more soon, guys and girls, and be kind to each other.